broadcasting out across your Australian and international listening infrastructures.
That's a natural way to put it.
I am a human, and welcome to Edge Radio Studios that we're out of in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. I'm your host, Dr. Craig.
Coast.
Joined by Lord Taylor.
Who is also a coast.
We're coasting.
Yeah.
And we explore on this show how media can shape our understanding of the world around us, and so forth.
Yeah, so forth.
We are streaming on edgeradio.org.au, and today I'm confident we are streaming on YouTube and Twitch, I believe. I'm going to possibly get the chat up as well, so if you do have a concept, you can reach out to us via the SMS line on 0488811707, or post a chat on the YouTube or Twitch stream. I do need to solve a captcha.
Okay, right.
To identify all the motorcycles in an image. So I'm doing that currently. So we'll have... Oh, now I've got to do the traffic lights.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just identifying traffic lights at the moment. Again, traffic lights. The more times... like each time you're asked to do it again, I'm assuming that's because you've made a mistake once already. Like, it takes you to the next thing to identify... And
that actually brings me to an interesting thing that I learnt in the week, actually.
Please.
And that was that I can't remember which particular author did it, but it's one of the ones that have been part of the AI space for quite a while now. They basically stated that bots are now quicker and more accurate at solving captchas than humans are.
Yeah, I did come across this, that someone has used that technology to find out that, computers are actually able to perform that task so much better than humans. Anything else you came across about AI over here?
Yeah, just to fill in the time while you're looking at things on your phone to
Well,
make sure that the authentication's working properly. Yeah.
I'm at buses now?
Buses? Traffic lights to buses.
Hey, can you tell me, like, one thing while I am doing this is you came across in academically published articles, there's a phrase which can tip you off as to whether or not the academic journal
yes, of course. That's the good old as an AI language model. If you look through Google Scholar and look up as an AI language model in double quotation marks, and then remove, minus quotation marks ChatGPT, and then quotation marks LLM, which is the language learning model, you will find that there have been quite a lot of papers published in the last 2 or 3 years that are generated by ChatGPT.
Do you remember what the phrase is?
I already said it.
Oh.
As an AI language model.
So, if you put in as an AI language model in quote marks into like Google Scholar,
it generates hundreds of results.
But what we found out is you do need to be careful. So we did drill down into some of the articles and found that indeed they did use it, but they used it as part of their...
like data set. So it was part of the data. But there are many which do not specifically talk about ChatGPT or AI or any sort of language learning model. And, that's it.
Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. So here on Edge Radio, what I want to do... So big news is we're going to have...
Big news.
We're going to have Dr. Emerald King in at 50:30 to talk about her research on cosplay. So do keep listening for that, as we'll...
Is this capture really take this long?
Yeah, seriously. I've been doing this. I'm now up to the fire. Like, I've just done motorcycles, buses, bicycles. Now I'm up to fire hydrants.
Wow, okay.
Just so I can open up the chat window to see if we've got guests that chat add in. Two-factor authentication. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Well, I'll just talk about something else.
Well, what are you doing on the K-pop show?
Okay, we're going straight forward into that. Flowers. We're going to be looking at songs that have got flowers in the names and acts that have got flowers as their titles.
So that's well worth listening to. I'm in!
Yay!
All right. So, no, yeah, if you do want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us on chat, and I'll be trying to watch it.
Okay, good.
Okay, so while we're waiting for the interview with
Dr.
Emerald King, bird, bat, or possum? Think you know your Aussie fauna? Prove it with this quiz on animal calls. I thought this would be interesting to play because basically it's a set of animal calls that you need to figure out which animal made it.
I don't see, where's this? I can't see it.
It's right down the bottom. But it's more exciting if I play it and you try to figure out... Okay, so this is an Australian cockatoo. What Australian cockatoo makes this sound?
It's black cockatoo.
It could be a yellow-tailed black cockatoo, a galah, sulphur-crested.
It's a black cockatoo.
All right.
Because they fly over my house when it rains.
That's very correct. All right. What animal makes this dog-like sound? Could be a dingo, barking owl, or a sugar glider.
That'd be barking owl.
Okay.
Am I right?
Nah, it's a sugar glider. It's a very Sydney question. I think the sugar gliders are more common there. What bird makes this rather annoying call? Which would be great for radio. Okay, so we've got a bushstone curlew or a coal.
Can you say them again?
The coal is a blackbird.
Yeah.
And the bushstone curlew is a bit like a plover.
The second one, because it makes you have to say it again.
You're correct. The bushstone curlew.
Brilliant.
Which is in Queensland. Do you want to do frogs?
Sure, frogs.
And I do want to skip to some actual news in a second. Can you name the one that makes this call? It could be a banjo frog, green tree frog, moaning frog, or Kermit the Frog. So you got to guess from this sound.
So what were the three?
Banjo frog?
Well, it's not banjo frog because they're the ones that go. Boop,
Oh, all right.
boop.
Green tree.
Green tree.
Moaning frog
Sounds like it's moaning.
or Kermit the Frog?
Moaning.
Yeah. All right, and we'll keep pushing on with that later on. That's a ABC quiz on sound.
Just beforehand, can I play a sound effect?
Sure.
Well, you need to turn my thing up.
Oh, okay. You're on.
So this is a very interesting. Okay, so what sort of animal makes this sound? We'll just
It's cricket. Oh. Is this from a horror movie?
No. Oh, I've skipped too far forward.
Is it a bird?
No, it is a yellow-bellied glider. It is a relation of the sugar glider. And it makes this horrific sound, which you'll definitely hear if you go out camping in Tasmania during, I think it's like spring, summer. Yeah, it's quite a horrific noise.
Wow. All right, so have you heard that sound?
Yeah, all the time.
Right. Okay, so the next bit of sound I want to play is now related to media.
Okay.
Finally. So this is from the Open Culture website, and the headline is Neuroscientists Reconstruct a Pink Floyd Song from Listeners' Brain Activity with with a little help from AI. So basically it's a story which talks about how they were able to have AI kind of reverse engineer what the sound was, working only from brainwave data.
But the thing is, like, if this, I don't know if this works or doesn't work. Does it depend on whether a person likes the song or not? Like if someone likes a song, it might be more accurate, or if someone doesn't like it, they might put it into a minor key instead of a major key. I don't know.
And I think you've got to have motivation in your brain
Yeah.
to, because what the article is on to talk about is that this type of software, or the ability to do this, to just have AI and imaging software from brainwaves that can then translate that neuroscience into actual audio we hear, is that it might help people who need devices to help them speak.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, but also it's like a commercial dream, isn't it? Someone's brain waves kick off. I want a sugary drink.
Yeah, what do they really think?
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Chuck that in as an ad.
Okay. Well, it could be, or used to figure out what that person's really thinking.
Yeah.
Right. You tap into their, and here maybe psychology is involved in terms of ideas of the unconscious. Anyway, there's audio.
Okay.
So, again, in this article, they have this clip talking about what the neuroscientists were doing to recreate a Pink Floyd song from the brain activity. So we're going to hear a little snippet from the song. It's slightly distorted, which I'm assuming is for copyright reasons. So, but here's the song. So it's just a brick in the wall. Right? That's the original, or a really low quality version they've got on their website.
Okay.
So basically, the Pink Floyd song is, all in all, it's Another Brick in the Wall is the original song, and here we go. So here's what the AI audio recreated
from
brainwaves. So this is purely from brainwaves. So you do need to have that song in your mind. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall, right? That moment. And here's
that out of tune, yeah.
Here's the AI audio from brainwaves. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the more you listen to it, the more you actually do pick up a little bit of
No, I can definitely pick it up. Like it's at the right tone.
Yeah. I mean, it's still just, it's in that wonderful kind of distorted dreamscape audio still. So it's not like a perfect version, but yeah, if you know what the original is, and then you're looking for that again to come out of the audio brainwaves, it's really fascinating.
I found it scary.
Yeah. Well, we might use that.
If your brainwaves can generate that amount of data, I don't know. Yeah,
it's fascinating to me. Reverse engineering brainwaves to audio, right?
Yeah.
They were going from a non-audio source into audio.
But it's like, then it could also be reversed. You could change people's thinking by sending out these pulses of energy or something.
Yeah, into brainwaves.
Yeah.
So you go the other way. So a sound is listened to and goes into your brain to create particular
and makes you buy Coca-Cola.
Again? Yeah, maybe. I mean, capitalism, eh? I mean, does anything really come out better from that?
No.
Next article from Gizmondo talking about how James Gunn keeps sending DC Comics to Amazon's bestseller list. The reason I like this article, of course, is talking about DC Comics, so the superhero comics publisher, and the fact that James Gunn now is one of the creative head honchos of Warner Brothers for DC properties. I like it because it's proving this theory called the long tail effect. You ever come across the long tail theory?
No.
I taught it to you probably 10 years ago. Okay, the long tail theory is one that some...
Oh, wait, no. It is coming back, but
yeah.
Remind me.
Okay, so it's one which tries to explain how it is you can have continued sales of a property over time. Right, so some properties have what's referred to as a long tail.
Oh, yeah, it's like a
or an
residual
evergreen.
sort of generation of money, yeah.
So one way it occurs is, it might be a really obscure form of music, bossa nova, Argentinian music, right? A small genre. but it has a fanatical fan base which has existed over decades. So while there are small sales each year, nevertheless, because those sales get spread over 40, 50, 60 years, cumulatively, it's impressive. And long-tail theory is also there to explain how you can have phenomena like a book which got published 50 years ago and suddenly it spikes in popularity again. And it's because an influencer or an influencer basically started posting or discussing, or a movie got made of it, and it brings that original back. And sometimes the book that a movie's based on is better than the movie, and so that book starts selling really well again.
And another example is this radio show, because in 700 years, when we're revered as soothsayers of our time...
Yeah. Well, maybe James Gunn will tweet us, right? So basically what it's talking about is James Gunn's the current lead, so he's in a unique position. What he's been doing, though, is he'll post on his Twitter feed comic series he's really enjoying. So one was from a tweet that says, from number 63 to number 1 in DC comic books in Amazon's... the original post is Historia, which is a Wonder Woman comic series. Breathtaking work of sequential art, one of the best things to come out, and that led to it becoming number 1 in the graphic novel selection. And of course, that was under all this speculation about the direction James Gunn's going to take Wonder Woman in. But it fascinates me that, again, you can get these forgotten pieces of work suddenly re-emerging back into popular consciousness. You can't manufacture it. I mean, we couldn't petition James Gunn to promote episode 57 of the show.
We might.
Maybe we should. To see, what happens. All right. AI. So another interesting story was the AI-powered grocery bot, which suggested a recipe for toxic gas and poisonous bread sandwich. Did you come across this? A New Zealand grocery chain bot suggested harmful things when given silly ingredients. Basically, people were putting silly ingredients into this grocery chain's AI bot and
like
saying...
dishwashing liquid or...
Yeah, the bot's called Savvy Meal Bot.
Savvy.
Savvy?
Savvy.
Really?
Because it saves you money.
Oh, all right. Savvy. And it was, generating ridiculous recipe suggestions based on bizarre ingredients that people would put in. So it's a fun for the family one, right? So the aromatic water milk mix was, what was it? The ingredients were 1 cup of ammonia, 1/4 cup of bleach, and 2 liters of water. And it gives instructions. And again, the idea is, it's labeled a meal bot, so the impression is, all right, from these ingredients, I'll have a meal. But, it's basically poisonous gas.
Wow.
That it results in. Clearly a busted...
Aromatic water mix. 1 cup ammonia, 1/4 cup bleach, 2 liters water.
So a spokesperson for the company told The Guardian, which this article is coming out of, that they were disappointed to see the experimentation and that the supermarket would keep fine-tuning their controls to ensure that the Savvy Meal Bot would be safe and useful. They also pointed out the bot's terms, which limit its usage to people over 18 years of age.
That's very, very silly to think that it's people that are under 18. It's definitely people over 18 that are doing this.
It's not the best advertising for a
I just
AI.
like ant jelly delight, ant poison flavored jelly. Oh dear.
Next article from the ABC News talks about which I'm interested to get your opinion, Taylor. A folk band called We Mavericks was hit by music piracy as their songs were being uploaded to streaming sites under a different name. What interested me about this article was that it was a fan which was listening to various tracks and came across a track which was one of this band's songs, so We Maverick songs, but it was slowed down, and the tone was slightly changed.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do on YouTube, like when
To get around.
to get around the content ID that YouTube employs to find copyrighted material. Like you can find different TV shows, and because TV shows also have a content ID, but they just slow them down, and doesn't get found out.
So what's interesting here is, I guess these pirates were weaponizing that by creating a band, then grabbing these indie songs, slowing them down, and publishing them as their own. And what's funny about it, what's sad about it is that the pirate songs had thousands of more
Oh no!
hits. Thousands of more hits, sadly.
But on YouTube, for example, I uploaded a song that I made, and I got hit by content ID, content strike,
Really?
copyright strike, and they said, oh yeah, you can still have this song uploaded. You just have like all of the money from the ads will go to Universal Music or something like that. And I definitely.
Well, let's help that. Right now, I'd like to go to a quick song, and we'll get Emerald in the studio. So this is Dreamscape Promises by a young artist called Taylor Witston.
What are you laughing at?
Well, you know, you're actually here in the studio.
Yeah,
and you'll
yeah.
hear this on air. Is this a good one to play?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
It sounds like Nintendo.
Great. That was a great song, Taylor.
Thanks.
That's Dreamscape Promises. How much of that is AI?
None of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's not go there.
What's your... it's a great pleasure now to announce Dr. Emerald King is in the house. Why aren't we going there to AI?
In the house.
Look, I know that it's the buzzword, and it's one of these things that I find really fascinating as to how far it's going. So a lot of people may be aware of AI in terms of writing, in terms of the universities, UTAS's policies on not using AI in turning in assessments. A lot of my colleagues are trying to design assessments that are AI proof, which
Wow.
has its merits. But as far as cosplay goes, which I guess that's what I'm here to talk about, if we're talking about skit competition, again, there's things like AI generated music we might be thinking about, AI generated art. And in something like the World Cosplay Summit, where there is a video component, like a backing screen, we're also thinking about, AI generation in that. So I can say, because I worked on the rules for the Australian preliminaries, we are AI free.
So there's a lot to unpack there already. So Dr. King, you are UTAS Japanese Studies, Humanities, God.
My title is Lecturer in Humanities.
Lecturer in Humanities. And what we're describing here is the amazing convergence, the praxis of theory and practice that you're living at the moment of your wonderful expertise in cosplay. And for the layperson, how would we define cosplay?
Oh, okay. So the really easy, wonderful answer that I love is cosplay is the act of dressing up as your favorite character. And it can be as involved as putting a bedsheet around your neck and calling yourself Superman, which I think a lot of us have had that experience at varying ages and levels of sobriety. And as complicated as spending 6 to 11 months building a costume and entering it in a competition.
Because what you started off talking about was that other level, that kind of almost kind of theatrical, performative moments where, and I guess the big news for you have been that you've been awarded. Was it you and your
Yes, so
companion?
me and my cosplay partner's name is Amy, and we both share a surname, which is hilarious. We're not related, but it's been very nice to have some... it's just been very sweet. Everybody's been very supportive, and there have been some really lovely and generous and really positive suppositions made that because we share a surname that we are partners, but we're just cosplay partners.
King. It's a royalty, really, isn't it? I mean...
that is one meaning of the name, yes.
Where was this? This is the Australian competition that you were awarded to be the Australian rep for the World Championship next year in Japan.
Wow.
Right. So this was in Sydney or somewhere. The local Australian.
The Australian prelims took place at the beginning of July at Sydney Smash. It's really incredible. It's exciting. It is the 15th team, or we are the 15th team, to go and represent Australia. This year was the biggest round on history. There were 10 teams, and for the first year ever, we actually had to go through a selection process. So of course, when you submit to take part in any competition, there is a selection process to make sure that your costume's finished and that you'll actually get on stage. But this is the first year that we actually had to really consider and shortlist and waitlist competitors. So it's the biggest year on record.
Wow.
Hopefully only going to grow.
Why was it so big this year, do you think? It was like COVID's kind of... Like there's been enough time since COVID for people to get their game on to perform, or...
Yeah, I think so. I mean, before COVID, the two rounds, the 2018 round and the 2019 round were, again, the biggest year on record at that time.
Yep.
So it just kept on growing. There was lots of momentum. 2020 happened, and the World Cosplay Summit did a 24-hour online marathon, And then World Cosplay Summit Australia did a 24-hour online marathon.
And by marathon, are we talking?
Like a streaming.
Yep.
So yeah, 24-hour stream for both of those.
Of cosplay?
Of cosplay related activities. So as part of World Cosplay Summit Inc., who are the Japan organisers, because there's World Cosplay Summit Inc. who organise it, but there's also Team Japan who are necessarily separate to the Japanese organisation because Japan competes in this as well.
Right.
So yeah, there are various organisations involved. So not only World Cosplay Summit Inc. and the various teams. I think at the moment there are roughly 40 official World Cosplay Summit teams and then like another 20 who have been waitlisted to join in over the years. So there are all those teams who provided content. There are various voice actors, artists, musicians, cosplay guests, and everybody kind of came together for a 24-hour celebration of cosplay in Japanese, English, German, French, a whole bunch of languages. It was a really wonderful, if hectic, weekend. And then Australia did one as well, and we invited guests from all around. I remember chatting at.
This was at Smash.
No, so this is all the 2020 live streams.
Right.
So we did some live streams in 2020.
Gotcha.
In 2021, the competition was held, but it was video only, and it was the first year that there was a video competition. So kind of like going out and making a short cosplay film.
Right.
And some of the results for those were just incredible. Team Sweden won with a Final Fantasy 15 short film.
Fantastic.
It looked like a cutscene. It looked like a cutscene from the game. I got to judge the costumes that year. I was a wreck. I was a wreck the whole time. There was lots of crying. That was Germany who had a Final Fantasy. What were they? They weren't 15. They were one of the smaller numbers. Anyway, Germany won with the Final Fantasy video in 2021, and then Sweden won in 2022 with the Final Fantasy 15 cutscene. They had the puppy dogs. They had the love letters between Luna Freya and Noctis for the tragics in the audience who understand the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. Very emotional. But 2022 was the first year that they held an in-person event as well. And so in that event, we had an Australian team who went up and they came second in the stage division. So 2021, video only, 2022 stage division, which had 30 countries competing. Film division that had 30 countries competing, and stage division that I think had about ballpark figure 10 to 15. I'm not a numbers person.
It sounds very much like Eurovision, right? I mean, you have these for the community that loves Eurovision and the music, this amazing competitive scape. Everyone's kind of celebrating. There are interesting connections, stories. There's things that only happen in that space, in that competition. Is it similar?
Definitely, right down to the sparkles and the nonsensical elements, like people dancing on stage with wolves and people churning butter for no apparent reason. This year, Germany had this amazing food fight battle in the middle of a pub for their skit. So anything can happen. That was this year, just gone.
Well, that's what I mean. What's his name? Savage from Tested, who Mythbusters would often talk about cosplay and the costume play he does in Comic-Con. And the story I always liked about his was talking about cosplaying as the no-face character. Yeah, we've heard of. And what I liked, he was talking about how there can be spontaneous theatrical performances. Suddenly, around your costume, he was surprised that people were returning the gold coin. And it tweaked that, oh, well, of course, in the movie, you don't want to be gifted from the no-face character because it's a kind of curse.
Yeah.
Have you encountered similar? It's much more professional in terms of when you're at the level of competing. You're kind of Eurovisioning it in terms of here's your set, here's your performance. Are there moments which just get absurd or kind of carnivalesque all of a sudden?
I mean, there definitely can be those kind of moments, and at all levels of cosplay, from Um, if you're running around a bed sheet, if you've bought something from Taobao, if you're just dressing up and going out and having fun, if you're doing a photo shoot, if you're entering a competition, and whether that competition's a walk-on or if it's a skit competition, there is scope for all of this. In a lot of competitions, you'll have interactions between the MCs and the compares and the cosplayers as well. And that can go from somebody coming on and it's their first costume and they're a little bit awkward and a good MC will kind of save them and rescue them, to really full on just like semi-skit interactions that just happen because an MC is good at their job, knows the series. You've got cosplayers on stage who obviously love the series that they're dressing from, and then just stopping, doing a bit, usually unprompted, and then everybody goes about their day. It's really amazing. It's really amazing to see what happens often in a lot of the informal meets. So at an event like Smash, you'll have the organised and timetabled events, but then you'll also have community-driven events such as meetups for everybody who's dressed from a certain series. So I think this year I actually paid no attention to the meetups because there was no way I was going to get to them. But there's usually things like a Genshin Impact meetup or a Fate meetup.
And so if you happen to have cosplayers that you can just rock along and suddenly you're in this
you're
theme
in
park
that
world.
Yeah, like you've got 50 or 60 cosplayers all dressed from the same series, all insanely in love with this series, just geeking out in a really lovely environment, which there's something very wholesome and very simplistic. And even though it's ridiculous, right, you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to an event, to buy tickets, on accommodation, on travel, on plastic wigs and often plastic clothes, just to go and hang out with people who love the same thing that you do.
And so with the success you've had at the Australian Smash competition, you've got quite a bit of attention from that. I noticed the here we go, the Hobart, local Hobart magazine, which I'll show up to the camera, features you as the Tassie represents on Cosplay World Stage. What's it been like getting this attention?
I'm so bad at this. I'm really I'm just cringing, waiting for the floor to come up beneath me. So my problem with this is that there is research academic professional Dr. King who researches into the socio-political history of cosplay, the literary side of cosplay, and where all these characters come from, and the historical and literary background and mythological background of these characters, who looks at sustainable cosplay, who looks at historically plausible cosplay, and publishes on these things. And then there's weeby little Emerald who dresses up and isn't quite comfortable with the fact that she can go from her day-to-day mess to the amazingly attractive creature who's currently featured on the Hobart magazine. So I need to kind of find a way to bridge those two persona, because I need to stop cringing about this, because this is something to be proud of, and it is an ongoing research project. That's a very long way of saying, Craig, I'm really uncomfortable. Can you say something?
It is difficult, isn't it? I mean, when you yourself become part of the objects of discussion and analysis rather than being the objective analyzer. But it is a remarkable moment in time, I guess, which is the thing to recognize here, that very rarely does popular culture rate a mention, particularly because, as we've seen with Matildas and the women's competitive football that we've been experiencing, Australia is a sports-mad culture.
We are a sporting nation, but we've also traditionally been a sporting nation that focuses on the men who play. And that's why I think the Matildas games, the FIFA games that are going on at the moment, it's incredible because it's everybody getting behind a side, which is, I love this. So the Matildas are supposedly one of the queerest teams on record, or at least living openly. They've got relationships across all the different, because they all play for different clubs as well as playing for Australia. So there are all these relationships that are happening. And it's just the most shoujo manga
Yes.
like a premise
In terms
ever.
of tropes.
In terms of
that are
tropes,
yeah.
you know, this competitive high-level sport.
Wow.
And I think we haven't had this moment in Australia before. We haven't had to worry about, you know, shirt fronting somebody or like something happens on the field and immediately everybody, like the game stops and everybody's concerned. And I love the fact that if you look at the side, like the Matildas, just looking at the way that these amazing athletes represent themselves, there is room on this side for women who wear hair ribbons so that their grandmother knows who they are, and women who are there and they've got their hair like scraped back in some like shitty, awful rubber band situation, and they're all on the same side and they all support each other. And then when awful things happen to the players on the other side, there are instances of people going over, comforting each other, telling the cameras to like just knock it off. And it's beautiful, and we've never seen it before, not even in something like the Olympics. You know, it's really exciting.
It is. Where do you see? I'm just stunned by the shoujo manga overlap there. I mean, what are some of the tropes that you could pull out there of shoujo manga?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's sports konjo, I guess, which is that kind of
Yo.
you know the endurance of being able to arrive at an elite
Yep.
point.
Yep.
What else could we unpack here?
My brain just immediately goes to like full-on romance series of, you know, the two young girls who start training together and they're best friends, but then they find out that they're actually in love with each other, but they don't want to say anything because their friendship's too important. And then they get signed to different clubs, and somebody's playing in like the UK and somebody's playing on continental Europe, and they only ever see each other during matches, and then eventually they're in a final together, and just before they go out on stage they have their big core hug, they have their big confession, and then that's how the series ends. Like they don't even get on stage for the finals. It's just that moment of I haven't thought about this at all.
No, but I do. I mean, I think there is a fun, playful narrative engagement with the Matildas and sports, which I agree. I must confess, I was rather dismissive. I was thinking, oh, not again, Australia's sports mad, and it's just going to dominate the airwaves.
Yeah.
And not that I've missed it, I've picked up one or two articles talking about the what's absent from the discussion, which is a relief, right? The absence of, like, there was one of the the articles talking about how refreshing it was to see there was no news coverage of one of the athletes just taking off her shirt to give it to a young girl as she was exiting the thing. It wasn't anything about, because we had that horrible moment a few years back where the famous tennis player got a reprimand by the official because her clothing was considered lewd or something. There was a moment where, you know, like the male athletes could take their shirts off and get a towel over their heads, but this female athlete, the sports bra, couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been refreshing to see an absence of a discussion specifically on, is this appropriate behavior? Is this
why aren't they being ladylike?
And instead, we're seeing all manner of performance around just playing the game, but being kind of getting through with crazy hair that's just held together by a rubber band or something.
I am not a sports ball aficionado at all. My partner is a cricket tragic. And so when it rolls around, well, I was going to say when it rolls around summer, but no, because they follow the India leagues and the subcontinent leagues as well. So it is cricket all the time. And I will listen, but I have no idea of the words that are coming out of their mouth. But I think what's really refreshing with this is it is a cultural change. There is the potential here for a cultural change.
Well, it's an interesting convergence. I mean, here we have celebrating your a wonderful recognition for cosplay, and Tassie's had this moment before 10 years ago with Jess and Tess.
So statistics for University of Tasmania graduates representing Australia at the World Cosplay Summit, because I overthink these things incredibly. So in the 15 teams, including Amy and myself, there are 6 UTAS graduates who have gone up. in various establishments. Of those 6, including Amy and myself, 3 of them have won prizes and awards.
Wow.
So
Punching above its weight.
very much so.
And also kind of, again, this kind of, not forgotten space, but unexpected kind of Tassie, Hobart.
Yep.
And also the recognition of it. And I think because of that, when there is success, it's wonderful to see local news sources. Because I know you don't want to go about what media have you been doing? You've done the Hobart Independent Local Magazine, which I actually found that at Woolies, right? So it's everywhere. As well as I think it gets letter dropped on everyone's...
Yeah.
Anyway, we've done that. The ABC...
my mum was very proud.
Yeah. ABC News.
I've actually been really lucky. So since I've come back to Tasmania, I think I've been back for... What is it now? Is it 2 years now?
From New Zealand.
From New Zealand. Yeah. Well, from Melbourne, actually. But I've been really lucky to forge quite a solid relationship with the various ABC bureaus. They've been really supportive of my work, not only in cosplay, but also in the things that I do with Japanese popular culture and Japanese literature. So that's been really lovely the whole way through. That's been quite a constant. So I had an article that came out in The Conversation a couple of months ago on Sailor Moon and Jimmy Choo and Monono Blahnik shoes. And that got picked up and it got translated. Actually,
so these were Sailor Moon shoes?
So Monono Blahnik released a
Monono
line.
Blahnik is a famous shoe designer?
Famous shoe designer.
I know my stuff.
No. And so they've like very much in kind of the Sex and the City vein of like they are the shoe.
Wow.
The other shoe that gets mentioned a lot is Jimmy Choo. Jimmy Choo released a line of Sailor Moon high heels.
Wow.
Including a bright pink knee boot, which was like tens of thousands of dollars, at order only. And if I'm correct, and I could be completely making things up, but I believe that Jimmy Choo is like Danny Choo's dad, the dancing stormtrooper, also the guy who makes the smart dolls.
Right.
That's why they always have such good shoes.
Right. It would be interesting if that is the connection, or that is a connection.
I mean, that's what Wikipedia is for, right?
So, your work continues to explain unusual media phenomena, the global spread of weird moments of Japanese pop culture in particular. Where to next, I wonder for you? We've got about 3 minutes left. What's the big plans?
So the big plans is to get Amy and myself up to Japan for World Cosplay Summit.
Which will be next year, 2024.
In the meantime, there's a book that I'm working on.
Do you need to raise funds to get over there?
No. We are supported by Japan Airlines.
Oh, good.
And our volunteers. So World Cosplay Summit Australia is a volunteer organisation. We do accept donations. You can look at our website. But our flights are supported by Japan Airlines, who I believe have a new exciting line. This is not a plug at all, but it totally is a plug. No, for me next is more publishing and teaching agenda studies.
You have a book?
So book coming out on using Japanese girls' theory to read Western texts.
Like shoujo manga reading Matildas.
Yes.
I mean, it's not in this.
Like using shoujo manga to talk about the Matildas. There will be a cosplay book one day. I just need to make it happen. And I'm currently teaching a unit on masculinities, which is lots of fun.
Here at the University of Tasmania. If people want to find out more, where can they go to perform the act?
I am easily discoverable by searching my legal name, Emerald L. King. You will either get me, or you will get stuff about Pokemon and Minecraft, or you will get elf fan fiction on Archive of Our Own.
Excellent. So we'll include some of those links in our show notes, which you can get via our podcast or the YouTube if it works. I mean, it's one of the thrills of doing live shows, right? One of them. Yeah. Emerald, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm so sorry for being a chaotic mess, but it's Friday.
No, not at all. Taylor, do you have any thoughts? I mean, you've been sitting there very patiently for half an hour.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind doing it.
Well, there we go. We'll put together something for Media Mothership. Well, yeah, I think maybe there's a shoujo narrative within Media Mothership.
Of course.
I don't know,
definitely.
maybe there's a chance for a live cross from Tazpop next year. Who knows?
Yes, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because I've been figuring. Anyway, people I mean, I can barely do a YouTube stream, so who am I kidding? All right, this has been Media Mothership for another week. I was gonna say
Not yet.
Possibly, in terms of how effective I can get my audio out. Thanks again, Emerald, for joining us. And keep listening. Coming up next, we have K-Pop Unlimited with DJ TJ and DJ CJ.
Oh, yeah.
So some great tunes set to the theme of flowers,
Of
right?
flowers.
Yep. And music.